Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Daily Movie Reviews. Yeah, I almost said Zoobox Goes to the Movies. It's not an episode of Zoobox Goes to the Movies. Come on now. This is just a daily movie review, one of these stream of consciousness videos. And this morning, actually, I got up a little early, checked out a new VOD movie. It's called Sputnik. It is from Russia. It's a kind of a mystery thriller science fiction horror movie. I would say it's kind of starts as a mystery thriller and kind of evolves into more of like a creature feature science fiction movie. The plot synopsis is: the lone survivor of an enigmatic spaceship incident hasn't returned back home alone. Hiding inside his body is a dangerous creature. This was put on my radar a few months ago by a Facebook acquaintance of mine, one of my wife's friends, high school friends actually. We've been kind of chatting on Facebook. So how's it going, Adam? If you watch this, thanks for telling me about the movie. Yeah, he had sent me the trailer and it kind of got me stoked. I really enjoy a good hard sci-fi movie, and I actually kind of have a thing for Russian science fiction movies for some weird reason, and not just like the classics, not just like Stalker or Solaris or one of those, or Hard to Be a God, which was a really intense, weird science fiction movie from a few years ago. You should check it out. Hard to Be a God. It's a wild movie, very Russian movie. But even some of the stuff that had come out in the early 2000s, like Night Watch, Day Watch, I think is the sequel to that. I don't think they ever finished. It was supposed to be like a trilogy. Um, but yeah, so I've always kind of had a thing for that stuff. I enjoy Russian cinema to a certain degree, and this movie looked cool. It looked like a cool hard sci-fi. Has a cool kind of tangible, tactile aesthetic to it that I really like. I mean, it's clearly like a low budget movie, but they utilize that I think effectively in this movie, and kind of building out this world, the science fiction Russian world. It takes place in like the early 80s, and it's about kind of the first kind of manned space missions, the first grouping of them, that first like 15 years of this stuff happening. And like I said, like it says in the description, some sort of alien gets inside of one of the spacemen, and they come down, and then they are trying to research and figure out what exactly it is, and if they can get it out of this guy or not. And the movie's kind of set up more like a mystery, as I said. It's about trying to figure out those things and actually what is going on in general. The movie has a few interesting twists and turns as it goes along, but I would say overall, if I liked this movie or not, I think this movie was okay. I think as it went along and as it had to kind of answer some of the mysteries, some of the questions that it set up, it actually becomes less interesting and it becomes a little more contrived. Some of the character motivations kind of stop making sense after a while. It's just one of these things where it's laying all these intriguing things out and then doesn't really know how to connect the dots at the end. I don't think it's a complete failure or anything like that. I think if you are a science fiction fan, it's probably worth checking out, but it's not one of these like modern day prestige sci-fi movies, you know? It's not on the level of something even recently, something like Annihilation. Or actually, I would say Alex Garland's Devs. You want to see like the premiere, what I think is going on in hard sci-fi these days, Alex Garland. Go look for that guy, and then check out. He had a TV show on Hulu called Devs, which I think was excellent. He also had a few movies, Ex Machina, Annihilation, that he directed over the past few years that have also kind of considered, the cream of the crop when it comes to modern science fiction stuff. This actually reminded me a lot of a movie that came out a few years ago, in certain aspects, called Life, with Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Reynolds and the girl from Mission Impossible. The woman from Mission Impossible, Rebecca Ferguson. And I actually really enjoy that movie. It's like a good, like B tier, old fashioned kind of creature feature, something you would have seen in the 80s, except the technology is just better. It's got kind of an alien vibe to it, but a sillier version of Alien. And I really like that. And this has some elements of that. Not necessarily in the way it's made, because that one is much more straightforward, kind of like a horror thriller. this one is a little bit more low key. I think a lot of that has to do with the budget, but for some reason, like the vibe of the movie kind of reminded me of Life. And when I was watching this, and then once this was over, I was kind of like, oh, I probably enjoyed Life more. I think Life is more of just like a superficially entertaining movie. This has a lot of stuff going on for it, kind of subversive stuff. It has some interesting kind of criticisms of Russian state control. But then it kind of also has to hedge its bets a little bit. Be like, well, it's not the state. It's not the Russian government. It's this rogue actor. It's these rogue actors that are doing this. The Russian government, they would never do this. They would never allow something like this to happen. Are you crazy? They wouldn't be into human experimentation and stuff like that. They wouldn't do it. It just wouldn't be done. So it does kind of hedge its bets a little bit, but there is this interesting kind of almost Cold War paranoia thriller feeling to the first half of the movie. And like I said, I think that's mostly where the most intriguing stuff is. It does kind of loses its way once it has to become a little bit more conventional, a little more formulaic. Once you find out what is going on with this creature, because there's this whole dynamic going on. Well, is it a parasite? Is it just hiding inside of him? What is their relationship? And I don't want to spoil anything, because that's all the stuff that's up front in the movie. I don't want to spoil anything in terms of reveals because it just came out. Because I do think if you are into science fiction, you're into kind of creature features, aliens, it's worth checking out. You could do a lot worse. A lot worse movies come out every day on VOD. A lot of bad, shitty horror science fiction movies that we all suffer through as genre fans. And I would say this is slightly a bright spot. I would say if I were to give this like an out of 10 thing, I'd give it like a 6. 6.5 maybe. And just for comparison, because I brought up the movie Life, okay? So just so you can sort of judge where I'm coming from. If you've seen the movie Life, I think that's like a 7 or a 7.5. Depending on my mood. I'll give it that 0.5 range because sometimes you're just not in the mood for something and it may not strike you the right way. But I actually, honestly, after watching this, it would make a great double feature with Life. I think Life is kind of an underrated, forgotten movie that will probably turn into one of those weird cult classics in the next, 50 years. It'll turn into something like this. Oh yeah, Split Second, baby. Got that MVD rewind collection of Split Second, the Rutger Hauer movie. That's kind of a forgotten action science fiction horror classic from the 90s. Life is probably going to be like that. Sputnik, probably not even going to rise to that. Sputnik's going to be a cool movie in like 20 years. I'm going to see it on some sort of obscure boutique streaming service or something. I'm going to be like, and my son's going to ask me about it. And I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I saw Sputnik. I saw it back when it came out. This dude Adam told me about it. And I watched it. Yeah, I looked at the director. This is his first thing. His first feature film, I believe. None of the actors I really recognized, honestly, because they're all Russian, except for one of them, the main actress, who's like kind of the main character of the movie. I recognized her from The Bourne Identity, I think she's from. And she was in that when she was very young. Yeah, I think she plays Irene Nesky. I remember her face. I don't remember what she did, but she's done mostly Russian stuff. It's a very Russian movie. It's got a very Russian feel to it. It's got kind of that cold, I don't know, dispassionate kind of Russian paradigm. I don't know. If you like Russian movies, if you can stomach a foreign film, which why couldn't you? It's not unworthy of your time. I think you could do a lot worse. It's cool just to see stuff like this get made. It's like cool to support stuff like this because, and interesting filmmakers like this guy Egor Abramenko, the director. Like I would totally watch something he did after this. He's got a good eye. I like his eye. I like the way that he tried to kind of seed some interesting subtext. Like I said, I think there's stuff about the state. There's also about identity stuff and about the nature of propaganda and heroism and are you a hero for your country? Are you a hero for yourself? What does that mean? So there's interesting stuff in there. It's just not It doesn't go very deep into any of it, but it is there. So it's not like a completely shallow, just like kind of shitty creature movie. And I was thankful for that. Like I said, about a 6.5 out of 10. If you're into these kinds of movies, if you watch the trailer and you thought the trailer looked cool, maybe check it out. Maybe that would indicate that you would probably at least get something out of it. It's not going to be an all-timer. It's not going to be your favorite movie. It's not a classic, but it's cool. It's a cool, interesting movie. All right, I think that's going to do it for me today, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to know more about Zoobox, there's a bunch of links in the description for Facebook, for Instagram, for my personal Twitter. Also, if you would like to make a recommendation for one of these daily videos, throw it in the comments, and I will put it on the list. All right, everybody. You be good.